Hey, this is Larry Daugherty, and this is a special archived episode of the Scott Townsend Show. My experience with my daughter Katie in the hospital, a few different experiences made me realize that you can, and with all of the children that I see, people that may have, the broken bones or, what comes with being in a children's hospital, never, ever underestimate the strength of a child emotionally or physically. They're a lot stronger than me. They know what's going on. You can't help but hear what the doctors and the nurses say. You can't help but know how many times they've had to change that tube in your neck. Whether, so yeah, the strength that you see in the children you visit is amazing. And I draw a lot of strength from them.
Hey, this is Scott Townsend. Thanks for joining the Scott Townsend Show. And today I have with me a special guest, a longtime friend, Larry Daugherty from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Larry, how's it going?
Very well, Scott. So good to see you again. And as I said before, hear that wonderful baritone voice coming across the airwaves.
Larry, you and I go back, I had to get the calculator out, probably 30 years, you and I were at Oklahoma State University together. We worked together at Slowbird Studio, what was once Slowbird Studios, Mike Staubus's art house there, and if we printed one Eskimo Joe t-shirt, probably printed 1 million of them. And
that is correct. Yeah, good times, Scott. And you're talking about getting a calculator out. I would need one of those fancy calculators to figure out how long it's actually been. But
oh, I know.
Yeah, it was some great times at the.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm getting a little bit thirsty here.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
There you go. At Slowbird, Mike Staubus, Stan Clark, all those guys, Mindy, Beto, Slim Pickens, Cal Pickens,
Lance
Sutton,
and you
Jim
go on and on and on.
Yeah, a lot of water's passed under the bridge since then.
We hope so.
So I invited you on the show, number one, to catch up, because we really haven't talked in a long time. So I see you on LinkedIn and Facebook regarding the cause that you have taken up as far as helping kids in need in a special way. So I thought we would talk about that. But also, I always thought it was interesting. Can you tell me the story? I know that at one time you went to California. This is even before we knew each other. You went up to California and started. So just tell that story. I mean.
Okay. Yeah. So this was way back. I left. I was a theater major at Oklahoma State University and decided that I was going to blow off to California and become a movie star. I went out. I was 20 years old. Went out there, basically grapes of wrath out there, didn't know a soul, but happened to meet somebody very influential, a really good actress who helped me. And really for about the next 10 years, I fell into the business and never stopped working, whether it was as an actor or in production. Very fortunate. I was very, very fortunate.
So who discovered you? Who helped you over? It seems to me I remember something about you climbing over a fence and somebody saw you at an audition or something.
Yeah. So what happened is I had heard or had read a book that there was an acting studio or an acting classes that were at the Burbank studio. And so I showed up, like I said, fell off the turnip wagon and was just going to walk straight on to the studio lot and
get hired.
Right, right. That's what I was there for. I didn't go to California to, work on a plan to, a farm.
Yeah.
But they stopped me and basically made me look ridiculous that, I'd showed up from Oklahoma and was just going to walk on the lot and go into an acting studio. And so I left and I was mad. And as I walked back to my car, I saw along the wall, these were 12-foot walls. There were vines growing up the wall. And as I said, I was 20 years old. Couldn't even think about it today. So I grabbed the vine and climbed the wall and jumped over, and there I was inside the walls. So I started walking around the different lots. And at the time, they were rehearsing dance. They were at a dance studio rehearsing for the movie. And so I got to see, all of the actors that were involved with this. And eventually I saw Bernadette Peters walked up and introduced myself and said, my name is Larry Daugherty. I just moved to California. I can do Shakespeare and everything. And she basically did what you did. She got a pretty big kick out of it. So about that time, they rang the bell and it was lunch. And I said, well, it sure was nice to meet you. And she said, well, why don't you come and have lunch with me and we can talk about you being an actor. And so she spent a couple of hours with me and then eventually called her acting coach, a great acting coach from New York City, David LeGrand, and he let me in his class. From there, one of the girls that was in the class, her husband was a producer at a movie store, a commercial studio, commercial production company. She told him the story. He asked me to lunch and then offered me a job. And so, within less than a week from landing in Los Angeles, I had my first job working at a production. And within a month from there, they had put me in 2 national commercials. And so, yeah, it was just, like I said, if that wouldn't have happened, a month later, I would have been back home hauling hay out.
Right. Man, that's so fast. I mean, that's what everybody hopes will happen, but that's like that's a once in a lifetime kind of an experience.
It is. Yeah. Like I said, I was so fortunate. I met so many people that would come to Los Angeles with the dreams of, being an actor, and they were very, very talented, extremely talented than me. But they didn't get the break. And eventually you get worn out. And it's a process. It's a business. It's you have to have the talent, but it is a big business, and you have to know the business. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with people that go to New York City or Chicago or Los Angeles to be an actor is you don't understand the business end of the industry. Mm-hmm. You just think you have the talent, and there's so many things that affect a person's career, whether it's a success or not.
Right. So nowadays I want to mention the movie Teen Wolf, which you're in as one of the basketball players, I think it was.
Correct.
And what was Bachelor Party?
Yes. You
were like the policeman busting up the.
I worked on that movie as the extras coordinator, and it was funny. Every time they would need an extra or someone to dress up like a police officer, they would grab me. And so if you really look at it, you can probably find 4 or 5 different parts of the movie that I'm in. It was pretty fun. I want to go back to Teen Wolf. You talked about me getting a basketball team. Something that's interesting about that is 3 of the 5 players on Michael J. Fox's team were from Oklahoma. Huh. One of them, I forget his name. He was a big character in a Pee Wee Herman movie. Mark, I'll think of it later. I had done a play or a musical Pippin with him at Northeastern State in Tahlequah when I was a freshman in college.
Really?
And we both, I never saw him again until we walked onto the set, and we didn't know who each we knew each other, but couldn't remember. The other member on the basketball team, Court McCowan, who had an incredibly successful career as a stand-up comedian at the Comedy Store. He was my roommate, and he was from Stillwater. He came to visit me, and I was working on a television series that was filming throughout the summer, and he came and just hung out on the set. And one of the photographers, the director of photography, thought, and he is, striking. He's a very handsome man. Asked if he wanted a job. And so Court flew back to Oklahoma, picked up his clothes, and moved to California. So he got, we knew a lot of the same people. And so we both got cast on as basketball players on Teen Wolf, Michael J. Fox. Yeah, so it was funny. 3 of the 5 people on Michael J. Fox's team were from Oklahoma.
I'll be. Yeah, I always remember that one. You're standing there in the hallway with everybody running past you in bachelor party. What was that? Tom Hanks. I can't remember who else was in there, but anyway.
And yeah, there was a load.
So now let's bring it up to speed now. So we're back in Oklahoma, and you were at the Cherokee Nation, working there. And so the whole reason why I had you on is to, like I said, number one, catch up, but also number two, to kind of dig into this humor therapy.
Yeah, let me go back.
Tell me the story.
Let me go back just a little bit, because when I lived in Los Angeles, I was working, had a job working with the Pasadena Symphony, not as a singer or as a musician. I was what was called a mummer or a mime for an opera. One of the cast members had been a clown with Ringling Brothers, and he taught me, I knew basics of juggling, but he taught me how to really juggle. And I was just fascinated with that. And so when I moved back to Oklahoma, I kept pursuing that, and I went to a group in Dallas, Funniatrics, the New York Goose, and to learn the art of clown, to do it right. And they were also, and it's been around for a while, but they were also very much into hospital clowning, humor therapy, humor clowning. Okay. And it's been around for years and years. And there are hospitals all over the world that have these programs. And so I learned from them, and it's a very special technique to go into a children's hospital and to be able to perform. Something that they teach you is you go through a process. And the first is you knock on the door, a children's door at the hospital, and you open the door, and you have to immediately read the room. Is this someplace I need to be? You will find that there are no telling what is happening in the child's room at that moment. And once you have read the room and you feel that you're comfortable, you look directly at the child and say, would you like a visit? Because the entire part of this program is empowering the child, because it doesn't matter what's happening. It doesn't matter if someone knocks on your door, they're coming in the room. Okay. Mm-hmm. When they come in the room, they're not going to do generally not something. They're going to give you a poke. They're going to give you a shot. They're going to give you something to drink that really isn't good.
They're going to wake you up.
Correct.
Middle of the night. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is the only time that you truly empower the child to make the decision. Again, I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. Is when I first had been working with the my friends in Dallas. When I came back, I tried to do the presentation to St. Francis, and they just don't let anyone in a child's room or the floor, especially
Right.
you know, somebody dressed like this.
That was going to be one of my questions, but you're hitting on it now. So yeah,
Yeah,
keep
and
going.
I would dress up in a suit. You know, they came downstairs to see me expecting someone see someone, you know, in a clown costume. Um, and they would always send an intern, you know, like a high school intern, and they would just pick up my presentation and say, "We'll give you a call."
Right.
It, you know, it's something that in Tulsa no one had ever seen. It, you know, these programs are in every major metropolitan city, really all over the world. What got me in the door, unfortunately, was that my daughter Katie had been diagnosed with a life-threatening case of E. coli.
How did that
And,
come about?
we had been swimming, and we would always go and pick her up something. And of course, after you swim, you're starving. Pick her
Right.
up something to eat, and it was traced back to tainted meat, where they could actually tell that it was from someone not washing their hands after using the restroom. And there are two different types of E. coli, one that can be helped with antibiotics and different medications, and the other is you're just on your own, where your body has to fight it. And so we were in ICU at St. Francis for nearly 2 months.
Man, how
And
old was your daughter at the time?
whew, man, I guess she would have been 6 at the time. And when there's, you know, you see your daughter lying there, hooked up to multiple machines, and she's got, you know, a tube down her throat, where, you know, 12 hours before you were jumping off the diving board, everything was great. Well, like I said, we were there for 2 months, and
Man,
there is absolutely no way to describe it, where you're sitting there day and night watching your child maybe not get better. We may not go home. And as I've said many times, during our time at Children's Hospital, we saw a lot of people come and go. We saw a lot of families come and go. We were in ICU. There's nowhere to
yeah.
go. You're in a little room. And what we found was some children get to go home with their families. And some children go home to see God. That's just the way it is. And yeah, it's a helpless feeling when you're watching. You know, if there was a bad guy out there messing with my daughter, I'd fight him all day long. I was doing everything I can to make my daughter feel better. She grew up watching me juggle, do magic tricks, and all the gags, goofy things that I did. And so I wanted to bring all that stuff up to her hospital room, so it might trigger something in her. You know, you're reaching deep, man, because she was sick, and eventually started doing the tricks and the juggling and the jokes with the doctors and the nurses, because it's not just the children that need the cheering up. It's the mothers, the father, the grandparents, because this is tough on everybody.
Right.
And you can imagine what the doctors and nurses deal with all day, every single day. They are incredible heroes. They truly love their patients. So yeah, then eventually they let me start going up the hall to meet other families and children, the children that were well enough to get a little show, to be made to feel better. And on the day we left, I checked with the child services director and said, "Hey, why don't you just let me keep doing this?" And the hospital let me come in. And that, unfortunately, it took something like my daughter almost passing away to get my foot in my, and it really, I say foot, my big foot, my big clown shoe in the door.
Right, right.
And that is going on. It's over 7 years that this has been happening.
So do you notice improvement? Do you see what's it like when you can make a kid laugh? What's it like?
Well, that's what you're there for. I mean, you go room to room, and like I said before, you don't know what you're gonna what I mean, you can meet with the nurses, the charge nurse, and say what's happening in 116 or 323, but what was happening 30 minutes ago might not be happening now.
Right.
And a visit to a child's room can be as little as 30 seconds or 1 minute. They may not, you know, and something that people have to realize, and I try to explain this. So I had a television crew that came out and covered my program, and tried to explain to them that this isn't a birthday party. You walk into a room; these people are sick. Some of
A
them
lot
are
of
getting.
stress.
Well, it's so you never know what you're going to get. I may go to 5 or 6 rooms and never get a laugh. I might get a smile,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes a small smile from a child who has cancer and is incredibly sick. That small smile, or you can even see it in their eye, is just as good as a big guffaw, a
Right.
big chuckle in the room you got before. And you have to keep yourself grounded. This is because you can't, once I leave one room, I have to get myself together to go into the next child's room. I can't carry emotion from one room to the next. Every single room is a different performance, and it is all improvisational. I take some of my tried and true gags with me, and like I said, sometimes I might be there 30 seconds. I might be there 10 or 15 minutes, depending on the family. I
Mm-hmm.
have some families, especially it seems like Hispanic families, where clowns are very big, in their culture, begging me to stay.
Hmm.
And these rooms are full with brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and
Right.
grandmas, and you'll have 10, 12 adults in this child's room. But truly what you have to do is focus on that child, because they may get tired quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else in the room might be enjoying it, but they may not be so much. Um, so there are, and you can't take this stuff home with you, because, like I said before, I've taken it home, and I have had to pull over on the highway just to fall apart. Um, and that's why I talk about the doctors and the nurses, incredible heroes to me, that do this all day, all night, um, and they never lose the sense of love and caring. That I'm telling you, you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to be a doctor. Oh, I'm going to be a nurse." Well, you don't know that. This
Yeah.
it is a calling. It is a true calling. Not everybody can do it, and I'm so proud to know so many.
I don't know how you do that. I mean, that would just tear me up. I couldn't do it. I think what you're doing is a calling too, because if I was to go in and try to make kids laugh, I think I could do that for a little bit until I run into that one room where it's tragedy, and and you see you see these kids who you don't want to, you don't want to see any kid in that kind of situation, but so there they are. That's the toughest. y- um, it- I don't want to get morbid or anything, but when you go to a funeral, those are usually sad. But when there's little bitty caskets up front, that's that's the worst. And uh, yeah, I just don't see how. But it's nice to know that there are people like you who are doing this to help kids enjoy a day. I'll tell you a quick story. Can I tell you a quick story?
Please do.
When I was at Disney World, I was in the working with in the Magic Kingdom in the transportation department, and we were on the trams, and I was spieling on the back of a tram. And first thing in the morning, we go out the parking lot, pick a bunch of people up. And this one family got on the tram, but their daughter had braces on her legs and crutches, and so I held the tram up extra long to make sure that they all got situated, and she was all excited and they were all excited, like every family is in the morning, you know, getting ready for a big day. And I never noticed people in the evening like I did from morning to evening. So I pulled a double shift, and that night, um, pull up to the turnstiles there to take people back to the parking lot. It's dark. Adults are tired, hot, broke. They spent all their money. Kids are, crying and sleepy. But I saw this particular girl who had the braces on her legs and the crutches. And she had the biggest smile on her face. And I could tell that instantly, I could tell that she had had a really great day. And I thought to myself, she probably hasn't had a lot of great days, and it's really nice. And I was dog tired. I'd been saying the same thing all day, but when I saw her, it kind of put some wind in my sails. You stand up a little taller and you think, just for her, I'm really good. I'm really going to entertain. I'm really going to give this all just for her. And so they got on the tram, and we took off, and I'll never forget that. And I thought to myself, all the Disney cast members throughout the day work hard not to break the spell, so to speak. You don't want to break the magic, And I could tell that for her, everybody that was working that day did a really good job of keeping the illusion alive. And so I was the last person that they were going to see at the park. I wanted to make sure that I didn't drop the ball, And so yeah, when you see a kid react to what you're doing, or maybe what you're all doing, and they're having the time of their life, I mean, you don't want to be the one that breaks that, So anyway, long story, but
Yeah, no. Something as you're telling this that it reminds me of is my experience with my daughter Katie in the hospital. A few different experiences made me realize that you can, and with all of the children that I see, people that may have, the broken bones, or what comes with being in a children's hospital. Never ever underestimate the strength of a child, emotionally or physically. They're a lot stronger than me. They know what's going on. You can't help but hear what the doctors and the nurses say. You
mhm.
can't help but know how many times they've had to change that tube in your neck. Whether and so yeah, the strength that you see in the children you visit is amazing, and
Mhm.
I draw a lot of strength from them. And like you're talking about, mentioning not being able to, handle going in and seeing a child, is you go in and you do the best job you can do, and leave knowing that you made a difference somehow, and you shake it off and get ready for the next room.
Hmm. That's cool. That's very noble and heroic of you to be doing that. And I'm sure all the children appreciate it. I'm sure the parents appreciate it, and the doctors, nurses. Anybody that can help lighten the load just a little bit.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And something that has been spawned from this is me doing workshops and working as a public speaker on humor therapy and teaching people how to, where it is a motivational stress management type of presentation, especially now.
Yeah.
We've had a pandemic and it was terrible and people are trying to learn how to cope with it. But now people are coming back into the offices and it's uncomfortable being around people. And it's just being, anger. People are angry. And so just coming home from the traffic or going to work in traffic and teaching people different types of humor therapy or techniques from humor therapy that you can use just to smooth yourself out a little bit. You're not smoothing yourself out, you're smoothing everyone around you out by being able to calm down.
Well, I think we'll end it there because I think that was what you're doing, helping kids, which is really what I wanted to get to. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to hear about how you got into it with your, because of your daughter, but it sounds like you were almost predestined because you'd already had the training before. And then you step in and when she got sick, you were able to not only help her, but you started helping others around. And then that kind of grew into what you're doing now. And I'm sure the people at the hospital really appreciate you coming in, helping lighten the load, like I said. And I appreciate you being generous enough to visit with me and with the audience.
Well, Scott, thank you. It was great to see you. I really appreciate you inviting me to be on the Scott Townsend Show. I can't say it like you.
Well,
but again, I look forward to seeing you again sometime in person when we get there.
Yeah.
Slowbird Studios reunion someday.
There should be something like that. We need to get that put together. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, maybe there should.
Yeah.
We were a little too old to try and hang out, like we used to.
Right. Maybe we'll play dominoes or something.
There we go. Thank you, Scott.
All right. Well, for Larry Daugherty, this is Scott Townsend. Thanks for joining the Scott Townsend Show. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.
The Scott Townsend Show is a Dietzo Man production. For more episodes, visit the Scott Townsend Show YouTube channel, listen on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.